Paul, I think, the favourite.
Yes. Yep.
But Tom definitely on an upward spiral.
Yeah, Tom's going to take that opportunity now, I think. Come out the gate strong, put the pressure on Paul. But Paul's got to use his experience and get in this match as quickly as he can as well. So here we go.
Big, strong player, Tom Jarvis. Very athletic, very fit.
Both players would like to play a really aggressive game as well, looking to get that foreign topspin in. I think we'll see it first. A lot of the serving being predominantly short, same with the receive. Don't want to give the opponent an advantage. But then as soon as that ball's that little bit loose, trying to put the pressure on each other.
So a good start by Tom. First 3 points going to him. Of course, the national championships, it's the big one. It's the big domestic tournament of the year. It's the one that you want to win as a player. And Paul Drinkhall, as we mentioned, has won it 6 times. And he sits alongside Alan Cook, who, of course, has coached Paul on many an occasion. And a slightly more senior player, but still a prominent character on the circuit. Dennis Neal has won the title 6 times. And as we mentioned, Des is in the lead. Liam Pitchford, interestingly, has won it 5 times. He's going for his 6th today.
Yep.
So it's an interesting day's table tennis. Meanwhile, Tom Jarvis leads 4-2. Players can towel down every 6 points. Both players doing that, albeit briefly. In the case of Tom Jarvis,
A good backhand flick from Tom. You've seen that a lot in the attacking game now, stepping over to the forehand side of the table to play a backhand flick. Can give you a few different options on what spin you put on the flick and put your opponent under pressure straight away.
It's interesting that, Matt. I know people don't like commentators to reminisce, but it's not that long ago when players will get told off for coming around the forehand to play the backhand from the forehand side of the table. But now it's what all the top successful players do. They come round the forehand and use this, and I think they refer to it often as the banana flick, because the wrist follows the shape of a banana as it goes around the side of the ball. But certainly all the top players in the world playing that particular shot and playing it really well. 6-2, good start by Jarvis.
And you can see the intent from Tom. He's looking to serve and follow up that ball as quickly as he can. And receive, trying to flick out quickly, put Paul under pressure. Because he knows if he's going to have any chance in his final, he needs to be the dominant attacker. Real good start from Tom. Oh, that was great play by Paul there. Started off the backhand tops when he knew he needed to step things up. Dominant attack. 3 good backhands and switching it wide at the forehand. I think that's some of his experience coming through there, Don. Despite him being down in his first game, he's not panicking. Just knowing when I need to step the gears up now. Pulls 2 points back.
It's a great forehand down the line there. So many players there would have gone on the diagonal, the safer option. But the top class players can play down the line equally as well as they can go on the diagonal or indeed into the body. It all started with the flick returned into the super shot.
There were 2 big points there for Paul against the serve. again, straight away in with the flick. And then getting that topspin in. And now levels the game at 7-all.
That almost balanced on the top of the net, that ball then, and fortunately for Tom, it just trickled over onto Paul's side. That was unreturnable. He'd actually crawled down the net.
Yeah. But a slight change of intent there from Tom, trying to touch the ball short rather than flick out.
Tom with his 2 serves. Super touch from Paul Drinkhall there, ready to spin. Looks a simple shot, doesn't it? Just touch it back, but that's tight. He's ready to spin, he's got the feeling to touch it back. Very skillful. So, 9 points apiece at the end of the first game, the business end. Paul with a slight advantage as he's got his 2 serves to come. Game point, Drinkhall.
And that was a big backhand there, wasn't it, Don? Following up the serve. There, big backhand topspin. Set him up after that. Now Paul has first game point. Good flick wide there from Tom. Short exchanges first. It was a nice strong forehand flick wide, push Paul back from the table.
Good positive play from the youngster. 10 years separate these two. Tom's 20, Paul 30. So it's the 20-year-old with the serve. That smash just hit the top of the net. That's what happened there. And it just obviously went the right side, but then it didn't come through. We'll probably see that on the replay. Let's just have a look. Up in the air it goes. This next one goes up. And here's the smash. Now this is the one that hits the top of the net. Here we go. There. Top of the net. Slows the ball down and it just drops way in front of Paul Drinkhall. So game point for the youngster. And he's done it. Tom Jarvis takes the first game. 12 points to 10. He now leads by 1-0. The players go back to their respective corners. Interesting, Paul there without a coach, but as the seasoned pro, he has a great tactical brain. He'll know what he has to do and what he'll be looking to do tactically. 1 minute in between each game. Could have gone anyway. I think 10-all, but you know, Tom did well, played well.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, he handled the pressure really well. I mean, he was game point down, but still stuck to his game plan. Knew how important that first game was. Get off to a good start in the semi-final. Put the pressure on the more experienced Paul Drinkhall.
I have to say, sometimes when I've watched Paul over the years, he can win the first game. I mean, that first match was a fantastic game yesterday against Luke Saville, and full marks to Luke. He played superb. But Paul won the first game. It could have been 11-2, I think.
Yeah.
And then I think he just took his foot off the pedal a little bit. And full marks to Luke. He came back then, and at the end, I thought this is anybody's game when he got to the seventh and final game. And luckily for Paul, he pulled away. But Luke Saville played superbly. But I do think Paul just took his foot off the pedal a fraction, which allowed Luke to get back in it and put in the superb display that he did. Having lost the first game, he'll be pumped up here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see.
I think Paul needs to try and be more dominant, not back off from the table and give Tom time to attack. Needs to follow up that serve. I think a big part of this will be around the net with the receive. Paul really good with the touch and a subtle change to bring in the flick. Needs to look to get that first attack in, put the pressure on Tom.
It was interesting with just watching the dynamics of the England players and the England team, and it was interesting to watching these two prepare for this semi-final, and they were actually practicing together. Whereas normally you don't practice with a person you're just about to play in the semi-final, but such is the team spirit that yeah, let's practice with each other. So I thought that was great to see that. And then of course Tom's got his dad coaching him in the corner. It's not as though another player, you know. Yep. It's just all very pleasant and a really good team spirit, and hence the success that they're having.
And the thing I find really interesting with that one is as soon as they go onto the table, it's incredibly competitive. So that switch from being strong teammates, supporting each other, practicing with each other like you said, but then a real fiery competition between the two. Both of them have been really determined to get to that final. Tom trying to use the long, fast serve, right at the backhand. And I think that's a sign of his confidence, actually, to be serving long and fast against someone of Paul's level. Shows that he's not overawed by his opponent. He's here, he wants to compete.
The other interesting thing here for people who are watching is that we actually have ball boys and a ball girl as well at one side. But there's about 20-30 balls are chosen at the beginning, and the umpires just keep feeding them in. When the ball goes to the back of the court, you'll see the ball boy, ball girl come in, pick the ball up, and the idea being that it makes it more entertaining for the spectators because we're not wasting time walking all the way back. What a great rally as well. Look at where the ball boy sprung into action. Again, the volunteers doing a super job from the umpires to the twiddlers to the ball boys and ball girls. Volunteers around the arena. Everybody very pleasant, contributing to an excellent national championships.
It's interesting because it adds another dynamic to the players. Normally, the players have got that sort of thinking time when the ball goes to the back of the court, just to try and reflect, reset, think about what they're going to do with the next point. But with the ball coming straight back in, they've got less of that thinking time. So they've just lost a point. They need to bounce back quickly.
Also a good shot by Tom. Jarvis there. Good serve. I think Paul just misread the spin slightly. The ball popped up off his bat. Full marks to Tom. Jarvis with that very strong top spin to win the point. Backspin on the service from Jarvis. Drinkhall just not quite lifting sufficiently. 6 points apiece. Again, 6 points has progressed. Both players taking the time to towel down. And as you say, reset. think through the tactics. And here we go. Paul Drinkhall with his 2 serves to come.
Good tactical play there by Paul. Serving short to the forehand. Tom having to come right over the table, but the next ball really wide to the backhand. And that movement in and out from the table, very difficult for players. And Paul using the table really well. Ball picked up by Paul. The serve just drifting half long, as we say. Paul playing with really good topspin. Could see it was drifting long, gave him a chance. Gives Paul a slight edge in his second game.
2 points against the service for Paul Drinkhall, now with his 2 serves to come.
Big point now for both players.
What a back after the line there from Paul Drinkhall. Super shot.
It was just amazing how calm Paul looked in that rally. Tom was on the attack. He was there controlling the ball. Brilliant finish at the end to give him game point.
Classic example, coming around the forehand to play the backhand return unsuccessfully on this occasion. And Paul Drinkhall takes the second game, 11 points to 7. And this semi-final now evenly poised at 1 game apiece. And the players back to their corners. Paul Drinkhall rehydrating, taking on a little bit of nutrition. It's all very scientifically worked out these days so that the players are in optimum shape in terms of eating and drinking, and when they eat and drink, and indeed even during the game, how they rehydrate. Some highlights to enjoy from this second game. That was the backhand down the line that came in towards the end, 9-7 to take the game to 10-7. Confirmation of the situation. We just need a little number 1 put in next to Paul on the graphic. 1 game apiece. And I think, was that Bonnie?
I think
the young
it was,
lady
yeah.
there, Paul's daughter. She's here with Dougie, her brother. Paul's 2 massive supporters, Dougie and Bonnie.
Actually saw them on the practice table yesterday, Don, as well, with their mum.
Good
also
to
a
see.
former national champion.
Yep.
Some
There's a question in the programme, and I'll ask the people who are listening to the question, and it was, name 2 husband and wife teams that have won the mixed doubles title. And of course we've given it away with Paul Drinkhall won it with his wife Jo Parker, who obviously became Jo Drinkhall, now with the 2 children, Bonnie and Dougie. And of course we have to go back to the 60s for Mary Wright and Brian Wright, who won it in the early 60s.
And Paul and Joanna are also Commonwealth gold medalists as well.
They did. They won that up in Glasgow, which was a fantastic performance. Especially when you consider the teams that were in Glasgow, the Singapore team, other team, the Malaysian team, the Indian team. And there we were on the medal roster with gold, silver and bronze
in
mixed
fantastic
doubles. It was incredible. 2014. Commonwealth Games in Glasgow, what an event that was. Table tennis was one of 18 sports on the programme, and Team England topped the medal table.
Great start here by Tom Jarvis in his 3rd game. Paul Paul trying to keep him out, keep the ball short and receive, but it's just drifting long, and Tam just capitalising every time. Took a chance there, long fast serve down the line. Always a slight risk, especially when you're playing an attacking player. It needs to be right on the edge of the table. It needs to be well disguised, but Paul could see it coming, was straight onto that. Brilliant dominant play by Tom. Really aggressive attacking. Throwing all of his body into those forehand topspins, pushing Paul back. I think we've seen lots of occasions when Paul's been back from the table and being able to produce bits of magic, but it's higher risk.
There was the banana backhand, as they have christened it, coming across the table, returning with the backhand from the forehand side. Good start by Jarvis, 6-2.
I've seen Tom serving a little bit shorter to the forehand with Paul with what we call reverse spin, where he comes around the outside of the ball. Spin brings that over to the forehand side of the table predominantly. That's allowing Tom to get in with his forehand attack.
Lovely. Topspin off the bounce, came across the inside of the ball slightly, faded it out wide. A little bit of side spin.
What always impressed me with Paul is his footwork and the amount of ground he can actually cover at the table. I mean, he was nearly 2 steps wide of the backhand corner there. Get that forehand in.
It's good to watch from Paul's point of view when he's away from the table. It's entertaining, but when Tom's close and Paul's away, then 4 times out of 5, I'm backing Tom to win the point.
Yeah. And Tom knows that. He knows if he's going to have a chance, he needs to get Paul back from the table. Use the table wisely, get the wide angles.
Backhand down the line again. Superb shot. Poor old Tom didn't even move then.
And the subtle change in the wrist when he goes to hit that backhand, it changes the direction completely. It's very hard to see. It's one of the reasons why Paul is a world-class player. Paul also a 2-time World Tour winner as well. Spanish Open back in 2014 and the Serbia Open this year. Or this season, should I say. I think it was the first one to win an ITTF Open since 1996, Don. I think it was Carl Preen who won it previously.
Carl, of course, a top 12 player in Europe. Those who've been watching the championships will remember Carl Preen winning the title here. (8-6). Jarvis in the lead.
What a backhand.
Tom will be thinking, I've got to get in with the first strong topspin. You mentioned that right at the beginning, Matt, the importance of getting in with that first topspin. Jarvis has to put Drinkhall under pressure. And if he can force him away from the table, even better. But get in with the first strong topspin. Good short play, but it was Drinkhall who took the flick on. And it was a great flick out wide to the forehand.
And there was a subtle change in the flick there. Paul actually flicked it a little bit slower. Normally goes quite hard, so I think it surprised Tom that it came through a little bit slower than he expected as well. But it was a real good short play around the net first. What I really like about Tom, though, is that resilience. You know, despite losing a couple of points there, he comes out strong.
Error there from Tom. He'll be disappointed there. He had Paul away from the table, but he just mistimed that forehand topspin. Again, maybe it was Paul taking the pace off the ball that took him by surprise. See on the replay. That's pretty slow from Paul. And that variation arguably won him the point. So 9 points each. Paul, slight favourite with his 2 serves to come. We said that in the first game, and Tom went on to win it. So I still stand by that. The advantage of the service makes Paul the slight favourite here. And there he capitalised on the serve, getting in immediately behind the serve. Game point, Paul Drinkhall. Point. Strong backhand and forehand topspins from Drinkhall to take the 3rd game. 11 points to 9. And it's now the 30-year-old Paul Drinkhall who leads by 2 games to 1. Tom Jarvis will be reflecting on a 9-8 lead in that 3rd game and then missing a fairly soft ball by his high standards. Maybe a clever variation in pace, but nevertheless, he'll be disappointed with that miss. We can just enjoy a few of the points from that 3rd game as the players return to their corners. In the case of Paul Drinkhall, it's a coachless corner, and he's just taking on board some fluid, a little bit of nutrition. And Tom Jarvis in the corner with his dad, again doing exactly the same, with the advantage of words of advice from father.
Yeah, you've often seen his dad in his corner many times. As much as he may not know too much about the sport, actually just those reassuring words about keeping your focus, remembering what you need to do in each point, thinking it through. Sometimes that just some good reassurances is all you need in the corner. Paul, no coach there, quite used to that. Quite a common thing on the World Tour. Very, very experienced. Paul now playing out in the German Bundesliga. Playing for Schwalbe Bernardstadt, if I pronounce that correctly. A pretty good season with them this year.
You certainly pronounced it better than I could, so I've left that one to you. That's a heck of a name. And I think Tom's playing out in Sweden, is he? Halmstad?
That's right, yeah, he's at Halmstad, working with legendary coach Ulf Ticken Karlsson.
Former world doubles champion, Ulf. And that title in 1995.
Was that with Mikkel Appelgren?
He did, yeah. Yeah, 95. 85. 1985 in Gothenburg. 95, the Worlds were in Tianjin. Oh, what a point. That's world-class table tennis. And full marks to both players there, but Tom stayed close to the table. No way was he, even when Paul got in a ridiculous topspin from away from the table. This one coming up now. Here it comes. Most people would have panicked and run away from the table. Not Tom. He takes the counter topspin on. And as a result, he leads 3-1. Super play.
nearly a chance again. What a rally.
There was Paul's wife, Jo, with the kids.
There, big topspin getting right around that back corner. Tom just came across it a bit too much. Couldn't get the topspin to bring the ball down. But both players now stepping up the gears.
I have to say, Matt, I'm particularly impressed with Paul's backhand today. He's taking it early, isn't he? Wrist, spraying it, or he can go down the line. He's on the diagonal. It's working really well.
And it's really hard to see that change of direction as well. It's just a very subtle change in the wrist. If you're not watching carefully, you're just watching the ball go past you, it's a really good shot.
Certainly Paul here, highly focused. He's round there very quickly. It's a strong forehand topspin returner serve. Brave serve from Tom. Long fast serve on the diagonal. And Tom clearly just feels this fourth game slipping away. He's called a timeout.
Yeah, I think Tom knows he needs to keep up with Paul. If he's going to have any chance this final, he needs to keep with him. Both players have stepped things up so far in this game, which has been brilliant to see. And a couple of big rallies there, which Paul has come out on top of. And that might just be preying on Tom's mind a little bit. He hasn't played badly at all. But Paul has come out with some exceptional table tennis, showing why he's a world-class player. Showing his experience. And the power he's hit some of those forehands with as well, Paul, has just been unbelievable.
It's a real credit to Tom that, you know, Paul, he's playing really well. I mean, I've seen Paul play a lot over the last 15 years. And Paul's playing as well as I've seen him today. And he's focused as... But Tom's in there. You know, he's 2-1 down, 5-3 down, but he could have been 2-1 up. He was 9-8 up in that third game. Anybody's game. So it's a credit to Tom that he's still in there very much with a chance. But he does need, as you say, Matt, to stick with Paul. Paul's 5-3 up with his serves to come.
I think a big thing for Paul in this championship, he's come in really good physical shape and he's looking very fast around the court. Speaking with the men's coach Gavin Evans earlier, saying Paul is really hitting the gym hard. And I think in your mentality you feel confident if you know you're in good shape. Really helps the confidence, and Paul now just pulling away in this game. Really important for the serves here for Tom. Try and stay in this game.
Just lifting a bit too much on the backhand, so the timeout hasn't broken the momentum of Paul Drinkhall. 5-3 when we had the timeout, and Paul's won the next 3 points.
Tom looks like he's just getting a bit frustrated now. Just needs to settle down, not panic. It's not that he needs to hit the ball harder or faster or anything like that. He's hitting the ball well. Just needs to think a little bit smarter about how he can keep his opponent out.
Forehand down the line like a rocket. 7 game points. All 5 points since the timeout in favour of Drinkhall. And indeed, wins every point following the timeout to win the fourth game, 11 points to 3.
It might have just been on Tom's mind there after the timeout. Still not able to break the resolve of Paul. And as we're getting with players at this level, it's more about the psychological sort of side of the game. Both players are strong. But Paul there was really, really dominant. And Tom's, all credit to Tom, he's forcing Paul to step things up. But Paul really meeting the challenge head on. Varying his spin, covering a lot of table. Now that point again from Tom shows that he's playing well, but you've got a very experienced, very good player in Paul Drinkhall at the other end of the table who's in his way. It's a really solid game from Paul to move 3-1 up in this semi-final.
And so the players make their way back to the table for the 5th game. Confirmation of the situation in this semi-final on the screen. Paul Drinkhall leads by 3-1. Tom Jarvis to serve. This has been a world-class game, no question about that. Drinkhall playing some of the finest table tennis I've seen him play in the last 10 years. And Tom Jarvis, the young pretender, has also produced some outstanding play. However, you just wonder now, having 5-3 timeout, loses 6 points on the run, goes down 11-3 in the 4th. He really does need to stick with him now. If Paul gets a 3-4 point lead, then the writing's on the wall, I'm afraid. A little bit of good fortune there for Paul. He just caught the top of the net. And of course, Paul Drinkhall is in that exclusive group of 3 players who've won this title 6 times. Desmond Douglas, of course, 11, as we mentioned a little bit earlier. And then we have Alan Cook, former coach. And now Matt, you'll have to help me here. He's the director of coaching.
Technical director.
Technical director for Table Tennis England. And the 3rd player in that exclusive group is Dennis Neal. So Paul is looking to be outright number 2 on that exclusive list. But of course, Liam Pitchford, who's in the final, awaiting the winner of this match, has 5 titles to his name, and he'll be looking to join that group of 3 to make it 4 players, having won this most prestigious domestic title that there is, the national champion. Again, good start by Paul. Just needs to put in one last big effort here, Tom Jarvis, just to try and get back into this game.
Paul's come out really strong in this game. Just that first point signalled his intent straight away, taking the ball early, playing with a lot of power and a lot of aggression. Tom just find that really hard to deal with.
Tom there showing his frustration, just banging the table slightly with his bat, nothing aggressive, but just a gentle nudge of the table there, frustration coming through. Umpire quite rightly not making anything of that. Of course, if it's a bit more aggressive and they whack the table, the umpire may even get the yellow card out, and 2 yellow cards, you lose a point, and 3rd yellow card, well, there's a red card, which is you're off. Very rarely seen, I'm delighted to say.
Tom trying to put the pressure on Paul on that last point. Paul just soaking up the attack. Edging closer to taking this game. Bit of a snatchy 4 on there, I think, Don. Looks like he was panicking a little bit, he knows he needs to attack first. But just needs to be clever in which ball he picks out to do that on.
Yeah, I think for me this was anybody's game up until the timeout.
Yeah,
and that was called by Tom.
Yes.
And then ironically, it's been Paul Drinkhall ever since that timeout. It's not over yet, but Paul playing as well as he is, 7-3 lead. It really would have to be a slip up here by Drinkhall. Tom looks a defeated man now. Head down. But I must say, full marks to Jarvis. He's produced some wonderful table tennis. His game is moving forward. He's on an upward trajectory in terms of that performance pathway.
Yeah, Tom's moved up about 70 places in the last year in the world rankings. Now just outside that top 150. He's shown real good progression month after month and transitioning in that senior part of the game really well. But Knowing Tom well, he's a very ambitious player. He wants to be the best he can be. He wants to be part of that men's team and challenging our best players, which is a great place to be. So we'll definitely be seeing a lot more of Tom.
Six match points for Paul Drinkhall.
It must be really frustrating for Tom. He hasn't actually done that much wrong. It's just he's come up against a really good player in Paul Drinkhall today.
One match point save, 5 more to save. But it's looking like Paul Drinkhall, Liam Pitchford final, and what a final that is to look forward to later on this afternoon. One not to miss, that's for sure. And there it is, Paul Drinkhall demonstrating what he's done so well this afternoon, backhand and forehand topspin, combining them superbly, moving really well. Tom Jarvis played superbly, 20 years of age. England very fortunate to have such a player, pushing to be in that senior team, a regular in the top 3, but he was up against an informed Paul Drinkhall, and full marks to Paul, and I think a worthy winner, Matt.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, Tom played a fantastic match, really put the pressure on, but Paul didn't panic. Despite losing that first game, was okay, and then just stepped things up and was really dominant.
So I hope you've enjoyed those last 2 matches. It's been a pleasure to commentate to you. I'll be handing over to the one and only Colin Wilson shortly, and he'll be taking you through the next 2 finals. Exciting table tennis to look forward to. And Colin will be talking you through every point with immense knowledge that he possesses.